We often think of these ancient stories as just, well, religious texts. But what if they're actually a profound guide to understanding human connection, conflict, and empathy? Today we're going to dive into them and see what they can teach us about our own relationships.
So it all kicks off with a complaint. It's not shouted from the rooftops, it's whispered. It's a judgment passed under the breath by the religious leaders of the day talking about Jesus. They see him sharing a meal with people they've completely written off, and they do not approve.
And that's the real question, isn't it? Because in their world, who you ate with defined everything about you. Sharing a table meant acceptance. It meant you were part of the same tribe. So this wasn't just about lunch. This was about tearing down social walls. And it was making some people very, very uncomfortable.
Now, the response to all this drama comes in the form of 3 incredible stories. And here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll start with that controversial dinner party, then look at the value of the one, then dive into a family's unspoken needs. After that, we'll see the big clash between empathy and judgment, and finally, land on the joy of reconnection.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It all starts with this meal. On one side of the table, you've got this radical act of connection with outsiders, and on the other side, you have judgment. And that creates this huge communication breakdown right from the start.
This is where a framework like nonviolent communication, or NVC, really helps us see what's happening. The Pharisees aren't just observing a fact. They're making a judgment. He's wrong. A neutral, clean observation would be just stating the facts. And that distinction between judgment and observation is basically the key that unlocks everything that's about to happen.
So Jesus hears this judgment, but instead of arguing back, he tells a couple of stories. And these first 2 are all about this frantic, almost obsessive search for something that's gone missing. It's this powerful metaphor for a need we all have, the need to be whole.
Okay, so picture this. You're a shepherd, you've got 100 sheep. It would be so easy to think, hey, 99 is still an A+, right? But for the shepherd, 99 is incomplete. The absence of that one sheep creates this powerful, unstoppable drive to make the flock whole again. And just look at this shepherd's focus here. All of his energy, all of his concern goes into that tiny 1% that's lost. It's the exact same for a woman who loses one of her 10 silver coins. That 99% that's safe, it's kind of put on the back burner for a minute because the search for that one missing piece is just that important. Now this is the crucial part, the emotional climax. It isn't just a quiet sigh of relief. No, it's an explosion of joy. A happiness so big that you have to grab your friends and neighbors and celebrate. The search always ends with a party. And from that NVC perspective, this rejoicing is the name we give to the feeling we get when a deep core need is finally met. For the shepherd, it's the need for wholeness. For the woman, it's the need for security. When what was lost is finally found, the natural human response is pure joy. And that idea sets the stage for the final, most famous story of them all.
Let's move on to the parable of the prodigal son. And this one, well, it's not about a lost object anymore. This is about a lost person. It's about a broken relationship and a family that is just swimming in a sea of unspoken feelings and unmet needs.
The journey of this younger son is really just a cycle of needs. It all begins with a need for autonomy, for freedom, which leads him to make this shocking request for his inheritance. This, of course, leads to some reckless choices, which then leads to a desperate primal need for sheer survival. And it's only when he hits rock bottom that he has this moment of self-awareness, and a new need pops up, the need to be restored, the need to go home.
And this is the moment the whole story hinges on. The father's response isn't anger, it's not judgment, it's definitely not "I told you so." The very first feeling the story mentions is compassion. He sees his son's need, not his son's mistake. He sees his child, not the failure. This is what empathy looks like in action.
But hang on, the story's not over. Just as the welcome home party gets started, we get thrown right back into the very same conflict that started this whole thing. The camera pans over to the older son who, just like the Pharisees at the beginning, is standing on the outside looking in, full of judgment.
Just listen to his words. You can feel the pain, right? The anger, the deep sense of unfairness. He doesn't see a brother who's been found. He sees a rival who's getting a reward he doesn't deserve. His language is all about transactions, about work, obedience, and what he thinks he's earned.
Now, if we look behind all that anger, we can see his unmet needs just screaming to be heard. He has a deep need for fairness, for recognition of his loyalty, for appreciation for all his hard work, and yeah, a need for his own celebration too. His anger, as NVC would say, is just a tragic expression of these really beautiful unmet needs.
The father's response here is just another masterclass in empathy. He doesn't argue about what's fair. He doesn't start listing off all the perks the older son gets. He goes straight to the heart of the matter, the relationship. He tries to meet that need for recognition and belonging by reminding him of their unbreakable connection.
And this right here highlights the two completely different worldviews clashing. The older son is trapped in this transactional world of rights and wrongs, of earning and deserving. But the father? He's operating from a relational worldview, where the most important thing is connection. He's not keeping score. He's just trying to keep his family together.
So, this brings us to the final point, the whole reason for the party in the first place. This entire series of stories is a direct answer to that whispered judgment from the beginning. It's a long, beautiful explanation for why it's time to celebrate.
The father's final plea to the older son reframes everything. He's saying, look, this isn't about rewarding bad behavior. This is about celebrating a resurrection. It's about the deep, profound joy that erupts when a broken connection is healed, when someone who is basically dead to the family is alive again. The need for connection has finally been met.
So whether it's the grumbling of the Pharisees or the anger of the older brother, these stories are all pointing to the same truth. Our harshest judgments often come directly from our own deepest unmet needs. Our need for order, for fairness, for recognition.
And that leaves us with one last thought. You know, the story never tells us if the older brother actually went into the party. The invitation is just left hanging there. And in a way, it's an invitation to us, to look past our own judgments and ask, who in my world is lost? Who's disconnected? Who's just waiting for an invitation to come home? Who are we refusing to eat with, and what could change if we chose connection over condemnation?